purpose of this video is to discuss what you can do to get better fuel mileage. I'll start off with the thing I seem to forget the most. It's the filter. Get a K&N filter. And I do literally mean a K&N filter. I've measured the square inches of a lot of them, and this one has 800 and something square inches of filter media. That is a lot of square inches. I wish all filters would just advertise their square inches of their filter media. And how I got it is I measured with a caliper the length, how deep that was, times 2, times however many pleats, and that came up with 800 square inches. I did the same thing on my turbos filter, and I didn't even come close. The second thing I would suggest doing if you're having a truck that's applicable to this video is modifying the tube that goes into your turbo. The tube that goes into your turbo is this tube right here, and yours looks very much different, and I wish I had a stock one to show you. But it's got a foam core, and then it's covered with plastic with little holes in it. Now the purpose of that is to silence it. Then it has a little flap thing in there, I don't know what the hell to call it, that holds it all in. So what I do is I get a little grinder, and like what you see over there, and I cut off just the bare edge, and then I just work it out. And it's a pain in the butt. It'll take you a while, but you can get it out. And if you do screw it up, you can take this tube in, and you can find a piece of Home Depot for cheaper than you can replace this thing for anyway. That's pretty much that right there. That will give you the #1 flow gain, I think, on the intake side. This little turn thing here helps take out turbulence in your turbo. I actually think that helps, doesn't hurt. That's why I left that one in. And then on the filter box, I cut this front out, which probably didn't do anything. See here, I'm telling you what I think did shit, when I'm pretty sure didn't do anything, because this hole's pretty big, and I don't think this really made much difference other than when I'm driving, cold air would force into the engine. Rather than it being pulled through the fender well, which could heat up. To give you an idea, see the, I don't know if you can see what's going on there, but I basically marked it out so it would cut in there, and you don't have to copy me, but I went along the side here, made one slice to there, and then did a diagonal to there, and that was probably a little more than necessary to cut out. And then the last physical thing I think you can do to your truck that will also make a huge difference is to remove your cat if you're on an emissions exempt truck. And I would still suggest keeping it in case rules change, because they seem to change a lot. As of lately, things have really gotten crazy with that. Trying to avoid keywords here. But if you do pull out your cat, draw an arrow on it with a spray paint or mark it, and save the cat. Don't sell it on Marketplace, don't throw it away, because you're probably going to need it in 10 years from now when rules get really crazy. This is not a cat. This is a Mangnaflow muffler. It's a smaller one. I wish I had put a bigger one in, but the truck is quiet on the inside, so I'm happy. And that's the reason I put this in here. Now this is, you don't have to put this one in here, but if you were to cut it out, I would suggest putting one of these in its place, or your truck's going to be really loud. This silences your truck way more than your muffler will. And your stock muffler is actually louder than that 30-inch Mangnaflow you see back there. And if it's still too loud, you can get some keel mat, which you're going to have to wipe down your bottom of your truck with alcohol, so it'll let the alcohol evaporate so it sticks. And you're going to need a roller, and that's a whole nother video. Alright, now I've been looking for this stupid Automine tuner thing, and I don't know what I did with it. And this is EFI Live from Fire Punk, and that's not applicable to this video because the horsepower goals. This truck is that you see here with the turbo is not applicable to anything I'm describing. This is for stock trucks and people who don't have a ton of money, because what you see here is 50 grand between what's under the valve cover in there. All right, so now we're out of physical modifications, and you can look at the pretty picture here, but this has nothing to do with what I'm talking about other than this is the same truck. The Banks Automine tuner. Now, I'm not really a fan of Gale Banks and his how he's, you know, kissing up to all the rules and regulations rather than, you know, standing up for, you know, what's over, you know, what's kind of over the top. But that's a whole nother subject. This is, by the way, a waste of money. Don't get it unless you want to have it look pretty under the hood, but it made absolutely no difference between this and the horn from what I see. I have no dyno to test it, and anyone with a dyno won't test it. So, and Banks won't put it on his dyno, so it must not do anything if he won't put it on his dyno. I've asked him multiple times to put his money where his mouth is, I want to see it on the dyno, but He dynos everything else, but he won't dyno that. That tells me he's full of crap. But back to the point here, so that you can see that I'm not Banks biased. The Banks Automine tuner is probably the lowest cost tuner you can buy. I got mine for $264, but because of inflation, it's now $364 on the link that I'm providing in the description here, and that price will probably go up in time. I think for the most part, it's around $500 everywhere else. If you do get the Banks Automine tuner at this current time, and I don't know how long that's going to be, do not update it. If you do, the max effort tune will no longer be the same because of regulations. It's a fun tune. You will not get good miles per gallon, but it's fun to play with. I wouldn't suggest playing with it if your transmission's weak, because it will shred your transmission if you don't have a decently built transmission. Use the Econo tune. The miles per gallon I got, based on everything I'm showing here, I was seeing on my readout up to 36.9, and at the calculation, my highest calculated when I was filling up was around 32, 33, but that's really hard to do. I have to drive really slow and use semis and stuff like that on 95. More realistically, I was seeing 26, 28 miles per gallon, spirited driving. Now that we've got all that out of the way, the final and most important thing you can do to get higher mile per gallon has absolutely nothing to do with anything I just said, and it has more to do with you and how you drive your vehicle. Now, this is, you consider this opinion or whatever, but I've driven a lot of vehicles, and a lot of them have various tools on them. BMW is the clearest example in my head. The older ones had an analog needle, and when you laid on the throttle, the needle would disappear, and when you let out the throttle, it would climb up all the way to like 40-ish miles per gallon. But as soon as you touch that throttle, it would disappear. So if you touched it a little bit or you touched it a lot, it would disappear. After a couple of years of driving that car, I managed to get 40 miles per gallon on the highway on that car, and around 26, 30 miles per gallon in the city. And how I did that was I accelerated to the speed that I wanted to be in a relatively quick fashion, not full throttle, but a good amount of throttle, let's put it like that. And then I would just do what I call pump and surge. Anywhere I see a little bit of downhill, I'd let off the throttle, and as soon as I seen an uphill and I knew there was a downhill coming, I would surge a little faster than I wanted to go, so that by the time I was at the top of the hill, I could let off, and then I could just kind of barely push the gas to, maintain my speed. And that is my method for getting high fuel mileage. Now I can go into all the minor details, but basically you drive in a way that you accelerate to the speed, and then you also drive in a way that where you don't need to hit the brake very often. If you're hitting the brake, it is a waste. That is my saying when it comes to driving like an asshole. If you're going to drive hard, if you don't have to hit the brake, then, well, it wasn't a waste at least. I got my money back when I coasted down to back to normal speed. If I accelerate hard and I hit the brakes, well, I just threw all that gas down the drain because I didn't get the energy back when I started, slowing down. That's my theory. That's how I feel about it. Could be wrong, could be right. I'm trying to help people here. I'm posting this on a particular forum. Hopefully I can build my fan base back up to 1,000 subscribers so I can start getting paid again. It was nice to get a paycheck. I will link all the sources of my stuff over time. I am not the best YouTuber. I'll never will be. Don't have the intention to be. But I don't mind helping people out and linking you to the right resources. The dislike counter I wish would show, because it kind of explains why I don't even try anymore. If I post an Amazon link or whatever, it's only monetized for a short period. If I don't get 200 clicks or some arbitrary number of clicks per month, then they kill the link, which is messed up. They should keep the link active, so at the very least you guys can still get the item I'm describing, but Amazon's like that.